Hello Year 11. So in this video we're going to be looking at aid. We're going to look at the different types of aid there are, the reasons why countries give aid, and then we're going to have a look at our two different case studies of emergency aid and long-term development aid. We'll also mention sustainable development goals as well. So aid, by definition, is money or help or support given by a high-income country to a low-income country to help them with their development. And there are different forms of aid. So we have short-term aid needed after sudden disasters, maybe like a cyclone. Long-term aid, something for a specific project over a long period of time. Tied aid, aid that is given with conditions attached. So the two countries will decide, and the donor country will often, make certain conditions as to sort of what they will get out of the giving of aid as well. Charitable aid, so charities, Action Aid there, or someone like Oxfam. We also have bilateral aid, when one country gives money to another. Multilateral is when it is more than one country. So why do countries give aid? There's four main reasons that we've looked at. One, it might be linked to trade and trade prices. So the donor country might get a better deal from giving aid to the recipient country. They also might benefit in terms of interest on the loan. So if they give monetary value, they might require people to pay, or the countries to pay interest on that amount, and so they will make money from giving aid. They might also want the recipient country as an ally, maybe to help them in case there's conflict. And last of all, it makes the donor country look good. If they give aid, then on a global scale, other countries might go, oh, they're kind of nice people. Now, the long-term development aid case study we looked at was one called COVAMS, and it was based in Malawi. So it was down at the south of Malawi, in a place called Middleshire, and this area relies heavily on growing tea and tobacco as its exports. It's really overpopulated in this area, so there's lots of pressure on the land, and due to heavy rain and poor farming practices, there is a lot of soil erosion. And this is then meaning that they aren't able to produce as much food, not only for themselves to eat, but also then to sell. So that's why COVAMS, a development project, decided to help support them so that they could reduce the amount of soil erosion in the area to ensure that they can continue to grow their product. So COVAMS actually stands for Community Vitalisation and Afforestation in Middleshire, but it was supported by the Japanese government, and it was a 10-year project. So COVAMS trained the villagers on how to conserve soil. They built rock, wood and bamboo barriers to prevent soil loss in the rainy season. They helped to plant trees and also to plough across the hillside and not down it, which would prevent the soil erosion. Has it helped? Yes. People, farmers in Malawi are now able to increase the amount of crops that they can produce, and also there's less soil erosion. So the water quality in the rivers has improved because the soil is not being washed into them. And also there's an increase in food and jobs for the people of Malawi. Now, Our short-term emergency aid case study was Ebola in Liberia, and Liberia was in West Africa. You can see some key facts about the case there. You know, there was a high death rate in this area, and the reason it was so high was because this is, you know, these are some of the poorest parts of the world there, and people were living in really poor conditions, and there just wasn't the sanitation to stop it spreading. So, you know, it did spread exceptionally quickly. Some NGOs, non-government organisations, came to help. Okay, Oxfam, Red Cross, Médecins Sans Frontières, they helped to raise money so that they could go in and support the people there, support the medical teams already there, but also just give, you know, clean water, sanitation, cleaning equipment, raise awareness of how it's being spread, make sure that unfortunately the dead people were being buried correctly. So, you know, they were vital in making this outbreak disappear, and you know, they were successful. The outbreak did end at the end of this period. Another case study that you could also talk about is Cyclone Pam and the support that they were given after the cyclone, because you know, that links in, it was emergency aid. The cyclone counts, you know, as a weather disaster, so you could also talk about that one. On this slide here, we've got some reasons why we should and we shouldn't give aid to low-income countries. You know, very much on the for side, you know, it saves lives, it rebuilds livelihoods. You know, these people need it after a natural disaster. On the against side, well, it can lead to dependency by certain countries to rely on this aid. And also, it might not actually get to the people that actually need it. Don't know sometimes if there's corruption or big companies that end up taking advantage of the aid given. Now, just wanted to mention these Sustainable Development Goals. They were created by the United Nations in 2015 with the aim of improving sort of living standards for everyone around the world. As you can see, they're all labelled there below, and it was just trying to encourage development or aid projects just to think about these 17 criterias when they were establishing who they might give support to and why they might give support to different countries. Right, on this last slide, it's just an exam question about different types of aid. Long-term development aid is more effective than short-term emergency aid. Justify your decision. So that's an exam question that you could practice after watching this video.